Mental Health, the Up&Up. We're trying to make mental health care clear, helpful, and maybe even fun. We're chatting with licensed therapists, but this is not therapy. These are simply thoughts and ideas for you to discuss with your own therapist and to help you on your journey of complete wellness. So welcome, everyone, to the crossover of so much talk about mental health, or Up&Up, the sewing channel. I'm not sure.
That.
We're gonna have to work on this. This is just to introduce people to each other. This is Geraldine, our licensed mental health counselor from upandupwellness.com. We have our mental health, the Up&Up podcast that I am on. I am also on a podcast with Ruthie of Ruthie Ks Inc., who is a tailor and designer and seamstress, is kind of her catch-all lovely title.
Uh-huh.
I've talked to both of you. I talk to both of you all the time because you're two of my favorite people. But I've talked on both of your podcasts about we come up to these points where I'm like, oh, I was just talking to Ruth about blah, 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 or I was just telling Jerry about blah, blah, blah.
Uh-huh.
And we have a lot of interconnection because the basis of why both of you do what you do is all about helping people to be more confident and be more empowered, have more I just said confidence already. With Ruthie
twice.
Double the confidence.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
With Ruthie at Ruthie Ks Inc., the slogan of her business, because it's the entire mode of why we do what we do over there, is boosting your confidence with style.
Yeah.
So we do alterations, we do custom clothing. She does. I'm part of the royal we here. She does customization. Everything she does is about trying to help you feel the most comfortable and the most confident in what you wear for whatever you're doing, whether it's a formal event, whether it's your everyday, because Ruthie, you care about people putting their best foot forward and being able to do life to the best of their ability.
Yes. I want people to be able to pull that power out of themselves to function in life at the top of their game. And when we look good, we feel good. When we feel good, we can better function. It helps us keep our cool. It helps us to portray ourselves in the most positive manner.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And my guess is sorry, Anna, my guess is that the clothing helps you help a person find the clothing that most portrays the best image of themselves. You don't try to put Anna in taffeta. I don't know if that would work, but you figure out who the person is and then help them.
Yeah, that's totally what I do. And it can be very different from a lot of other seamstresses and tailors who function on the fact that, oh no, this garment was made this way, so it has to stay this way, or it has to fit a certain way that isn't made for your body.
Yeah.
Because my other catch-all is clothing is camouflage. So my goal is to take your clothing and to camouflage what you don't like and accentuate what you do like, so that you're more comfortable in showing yourself to the world.
Yeah.
So I learned to so much more about listening to people and then using all the geometry and math skills to actually be able to picture how to make them look like what they want in whatever they want.
Yeah.
Because I also believe anybody can wear whatever style they want as long as it's made for them.
Yes, exactly. And Anna, I think I passed over you introducing me.
You did, but this was delightful, so I'm loving it. So Geraldine, as a therapist, a licensed mental health counselor, I'm hoping I got those words right the first time because I don't remember. Everything that you're about and what you do every day is you're helping everybody live their most true self to their own values and their own way of life, what they want out of life.
Yeah, it's just a different way to do what you do, is to help people maybe not hide, but set back on the back shelf the things that aren't working for them and accentuate the things that are working.
Yeah.
And one of my best examples is people with ADHD, and how the world tries to get them to be not ADHD because that's convenient for the world. And it's like, if you're ADHD, lean into it and find a job. Don't become an accountant or a landscaper. Become an emergency worker or a lobbyist, or something that really matches with who you are. Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard, I want to hear what you think of this, Ruth, because I heard this quote a long time ago, and I never quote things correctly, but it said, in the United States, if a woman goes to a store and tries on a pair of jeans and they don't fit, she says, there's something wrong with my body. And in Europe, a woman goes into the store, tries on a pair of jeans that don't fit. She says, there's something wrong with these jeans.
I don't know if that's true about Europe or not, but it is true about the confidence of people.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. And people who have had tailoring or had things made for them that actually fit
Mhm.
are more likely to look at those jeans and go, oh no, that's the jeans' fault.
Yes, yeah,
Because they know that they have had clothes that fit.
yeah.
Unfortunately, in the United States over the last 50, probably even 60 years now, we've gotten used to walking into a store and you're stuck with whatever it is.
Huh, was it different earlier?
Yes.
Oh,
In the 1800s, early half of the 1900s, there were a lot of tailors in stores.
oh, right. Okay.
And
Yeah,
people still went to tailors.
yeah.
It wasn't until, and I don't remember the exact years, but it wasn't until the mid 1800s into the 1900s when we started having pre-made clothes.
Mm-hmm.
It was a huge thing. And a lot of your books are written about it, your romance type books and all, where they went into the big department store in England.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
don't talk about the United States, but and how it was amazing because they could get something that was already made, where
Right.
before you'd have to go to the dressmaker. And
Yeah.
if she happened to have something on hand that somebody didn't want, she could remake it for you if
Mm-hmm.
you were a close fit.
Yeah.
But so people knew that clothes were made for them. Now
Um,
we feel like we have to be made for clothes.
yes. Yeah. That's the same idea, whether that is true or not. It's a
Yeah.
good
It's
idea
a
to think. Yeah.
it
It's
is.
like,
It's a good thing to contemplate on.
yeah.
And working in the big and tall men's industry for 8 years, I was a tailor for 8 years for a big and tall men's store. And men, I had not realized have the same issues we have
Huh.
with clothes. And if these men especially used to be an athlete, now they're retired and now they put on weight
Uh-huh.
and they think the same thing. We think they're told the same thing. Women are told, oh, you just need to wear something bigger. No, 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 no. You need to wear something that fits.
Yes. Yes. I had a friend who had been gaining weight for a while and moved up a size in shirts, and she said, I do not gain weight in my shoulders. Because the larger sizes
Yes.
just get larger in the shoulders, and she's there like,
Yeah.
that's not where my issue is. Yeah.
You
I
have to gain a
absolutely have that
lot of
problem.
weight. Sorry, Anna.
To
Gain a
gain
lot
weight.
of weight to add to your shoulders.
Yeah.
And most of it isn't even your shoulders. We're adding into our arm
Yeah.
and in through here. We're making it wider.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Anna?
I was just saying, that's exactly the problem I have. We've talked about it before because my proportions on the top half of my body are petite, so I'm short from shoulder to the bottom of my armpit,
Uh-huh.
or from shoulder to collarbone, and short from my rib cage to my waist. But I'm plus sized, and when I go to the plus size stuff, I'm swimming in it way up here, but then it's always binding at the bottom still.
Yep.
Oh,
It's,
interesting.
it's never fun.
Yeah.
And clothes aren't made to shapes, or they are made to shapes, but not everybody's shape. So they're either made apple shaped.
Mm-hmm.
So anybody with shoulders, they're too narrow at the top and they're super wide at the
Mm-hmm.
bottom. Or they're made to where they hang straight.
Yes. Yeah.
And then there's not enough room if you have hips.
Yeah. And again, taking that back to counseling, there's this view of what people should be as a person.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that idea if they're made straight, so like nothing shows through. You know, so people are said, you know, fit into this box as far as your emotions, your personality, and that may be convenient for the rest of the world, but isn't going to develop confidence in yourself because you're not
No.
showing who you are. So it's not just hiding those things, or having something that fits around you. It's having those things that allow yourself to show through.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the same thing when they tell us you can only wear stripes up and down.
Yeah.
Or you can only wear stripes this way. I have one customer who's a very large young man. I mean, he's just a big guy.
Uh-huh.
He's like 6'4", and
Uh-huh.
then big to go with that. And he loves to have his stripes go around.
Uh-huh.
And it looks perfectly fine on him. He can carry it off because he's happy.
Yes. Yeah.
And he doesn't really need to look taller. So
Good point. Good point.
he's a big guy. He just feels more comfortable when they go around him.
Yeah.
And people will tell you, no, you have to wear this, or you have to wear that, or you can't wear that color. And when Anna was a little girl, she loved color.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to forbid her from wearing more than 7 colors and/or patterns on her body at one time so we could look at her.
So you could actually see her.
Not just a blob of color.
Hey, you said clothing is camouflage.
It is. You were camouflaged really well. But now, obviously, she has learned to wear what she likes, and it accentuates who she is color-wise and every pattern-wise. But yeah, because it was just too much color.
Yeah.
And we have one customer who we keep trying to talk into wearing one solid piece on him at a time because he has so much pattern.
Uh-huh.
It's like we really just can't look at you because the eye has no place to rest.
Yeah. And I like that balance of honoring what they want, but also having that background knowledge of saying, and this is going to help you present yourself more authentically. You know, just
Yeah.
because I have this knowledge that too many colors are distracting.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, people literally can't focus on you.
Mm-hmm.
But you brought up a really good point when you were just talking about, let's see if I can remember how you said it. Before I jumped back in there, about putting our emotions in a box and how sometimes we do camouflage ourselves.
Uh-huh.
I did that for many, many years. I had a sister who was very, very loud. Very, very loud. And I was the quiet one. And I never wanted to be like her. Because I saw all the embarrassment and felt the embarrassment of how loud she was. And yet at that, I hid who I was, and I was very shy and very quiet, and I was only myself around some close friends. So by the time I get to high school, which my high school class was only 159 at graduation, I'd grown up with most of them since kindergarten, yet I didn't talk to them. I was like too shy. And I had been in the girls' bathroom my junior year, and I heard these two girls say, oh, that Ruth. So it was by name.
You knew it was you.
Yeah, she thinks she's such a princess and a beauty queen. And I was devastated.
Yeah.
But they saw me with my friends as myself, and then they saw what portrayed to them as me being snobby.
Yeah.
Which was totally not me.
Yeah. Yeah. So how did you change? Like, how did you, because I think that if someone says, you know, be this way and we are that way, they're telling us what to do. And if someone says, be this way, and we say, I will absolutely not do that, I will not be as loud as my sisters, there's also that external influence on who we are. So
Yeah.
So how, because I wouldn't think, I think of you as quiet and thoughtful, but I wouldn't say you're shy. And I definitely wouldn't say you're like a princess, like you think you're.
My kids have informed me of that too. They cannot even imagine me being shy.
Yeah. Or honestly, princess, like
No.
I'm better than you. Yeah.
A lot of the I'm better than you was I used clothing clear back then. Clothing has been my passion forever, like
Mm-hmm.
6 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would make me clothes that were noticeable. It was the noticeable part of, hey, I'm here.
Ah, uh-huh.
Like one time I made a satin up-down skirt and a top
Uh-huh.
with the collar that had lace on it. Another time I made a pair of overalls that had ruffles on the bib.
Oh, yeah.
And they were made out of the Walt Disney's Robin Hood print.
Wow. So you're there like,
So
this is me.
this is me. It was
Yeah.
in my clothes, even though I couldn't really talk to people at that point. But when I heard that in the bathroom, it's like, I have to change this. So I set out to be more outgoing, and I found it was much easier when I went to college. Because I left my hometown and all the people I knew, and I went up here to Washington, and I could be anybody I wanted.
Yeah.
So I took that freedom to present myself as how I saw myself inside.
Yeah.
It was hard.
Yeah, because there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of external pressure to be a certain way, dress a certain way. I remember, so I did one of my internships at it was called Even Start. It was teaching the parents of Head Start kids. So it was adults, um, English as a second language, GED, adult basic education, to help them kind of get a step up because, that helps their kids too. But we were talking, so it was me and three of the other teachers, and we were talking about how kids are put under such peer pressure to all dress the same, and we need to encourage them to express their individuality and to not feel pressured. And I looked around, and all four of us were wearing some iteration of a pink sweater and tan slacks. And they're like, I said, this is organized peer pressure. Like, it's still peer pressure. You dress a certain way to work in this job, or you dress a certain way to say to the world, this is who I am. And apparently pink sweaters and tan slacks meant teacher.
They kind of do.
Yeah. 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 And it's, but yeah, there's also kind of this, it's not an argument, but this back and forth in the counseling field about what counselors wear. We are professionals. Should we wear suits? We are trying to connect with people. Should we wear, jeans and t-shirts? And bottom line, what works best is if you wear what's authentic to you, that comes across better than trying to decide what the world wants to see or what the world needs to see. And I do dress pretty casually, but if people kind of go, I don't know if she's a professional, once I start talking with them, they see that. And the same thing the other way, if I have a friend who's a therapist who does dress in a very professional, she looks like a lawyer kind of way. And if someone walks in and says, ooh, I don't know if I can feel connection with her. And then as soon as they start talking, they feel that connection. But every once in a while, I'll try to dress up, and my clients come in and say, oh, do you have a job interview?
Oh,
I know. Or worse, oh, are you going to a funeral?
oh, yes, that is
Yeah,
worse.
yes. And they're like, oh, I'm just wearing black slacks and a nice shirt. Apparently, they're used to me wearing, sweaters and slacks, but but it doesn't come across as me. It doesn't come across as authentically me.
Yeah, it with seamstressing, it's the same way. And the biggest thing I get now, compared to when I was working in stores is we just want you to wear things you've made, which is like, okay, but then I have to have time to do that.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yes.
Or I have to hire somebody, which means I have to find somebody
Yes. That's
to
like,
make me
yeah.
clothes.
It's like working at an expensive store and they want you to wear their own products and you can't afford them.
Yeah.
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 And when I worked for a bridal salon and then I worked for the Big and Tall men's store, I had to wear suits.
Mm.
And they even wanted me to sew in them. And I was like, absolutely not. This
Yeah.
jacket comes off.
Yeah.
And one of my bosses insisted I had to wear the long sleeve shirts with the cuffs that would show at the bottom of my suit jacket. And I had to have button up shirts. And I'm pretty busty. I don't do button up shirts as a rule unless I make them, which isn't going to happen too often because I'm too busy.
Mm-hmm.
Because they gap.
Yeah.
And it's just like, no. And then at that point in life, I was too hot.
I know that point of life.
Yeah. And it's like, no way. So I always wore a camisole shirt under it but yeah. And now trying to find my own, and since I have only my own business, trying to find what do I want to wear?
What do you want to wear?
First I was wearing a lot of leggings and big t-shirts. I love my little sweater dresses. But I have a pretty eclectic group of clothes. And I have sweater dresses and slacks and soft pants, things that are easy to move in.
Yeah.
But I'm still working on do I have one style to wear to work that's easy to move in and looks nice. When I present my tuxedos as they come out, I will wear something fancier because I'm presenting a fancy product.
Yeah. Yeah.
But otherwise, I just want something comfortable that I can move in, get up and down, not flash anybody. Because that's bad.
Yes, generally so. Yeah. But yeah, it's that I think it's an architecture thing, function is beauty. Yeah. So you have to have something that that works for you, that functions. You have to move. You have to, have something you can move in, but also something that covers because you're bending and,
and getting up and down off the floor. And as we get older, that's not always easy. I see those reels where they just slide up gracefully. And I'm like, I don't think that's me. I'm not sure that was me when I was younger either.
I was taking I can't remember, some sort of exercise class, and we did this. It was, let's see, seasoned women. And we did this one move and everybody stood up and everybody's knees cracked. It's like this big.
Exactly. And I found many ways to get up that may look a little awkward, but it keeps my back straight from my PT guys. Because they wanted me to stand up straight and then, do basically a stand up from a lunge. I can't even do a lunge, Jerry. Never have. And the one head guy was finally like, just let her do it. Look, her back's straight.
Yes. Yeah. And again, that goes back to that authenticity. Instead of having the world dictate how to do things or what to wear or who you are or how to think, to take that information, this might be a better way to do that, or here's a piece of information that might help you, but then to be who you are.
Yeah. And with your job, isn't that the hardest thing, is to get people to see that they don't have to do it a certain way?
I think I'm trying to think if that's the biggest thing. It's definitely one big thing. Yeah. And I do have kind of a core belief that if the best way to, change the world or be kind to the people you love or anything like that is to be your authentic self. It doesn't come across clearly, or as well, it doesn't get heard as well if I say something in a way that doesn't feel like I'm saying it. Like if I say pretentious, moi, that's just not who I am. But yes, most people grow up always feeling like they're put in different boxes. Like my parents expect this of me, my school expects this of me, and it's hard to maintain that sense of who you are with such external pressure.
Yeah.
I have a trouble with the word feminine, like you're not dressing in a feminine manner. And they're like, well, I'm female, so any way I dress is feminine. You
Exactly.
can't tell me that I'm not dressing in a feminine way. I tell you, and if I'm wearing overalls and, boots, that's feminine.
It's like when I inherited a nibbling, and
Okay,
they
what's a nibbling?
a niece and nephew.
Oh, okay.
It was Anna's word long before it became popular. She's
I
used
didn't
it for
know it was
centuries.
yeah,
She's
that's
always called her niece and nephew's nibblings.
oh, I love
Um,
that. Yeah.
yeah, and our nibbling was they hated dresses.
Mhm.
She absolutely hated dresses, like from when she was 7. So she was thinking, oh well, I don't like dresses, and I don't like um doing those female things. I like doing this, and this, which are masculine things. So maybe I'm more masculine. And it's like, excuse me?
You can yeah.
I mean, you can look at it that way, but maybe that's just you. And
Mhm.
I told her about my sister, her aunt, because she didn't know us very well.
Mhm.
And I says, your Aunt Mary has always, she's the one that went out and baled hay.
Yeah.
She's reworked trucks. She
Mhm.
wears both dresses and pants all the time and always has.
She
But
played football.
she played football. She was the first girl to go out for football. But I mean, if you prefer the same sex,
Mhm.
that's fine, but that doesn't make you masculine or feminine.
Right.
You're you.
You are, right.
And it's what we do and how we dress doesn't dictate who we are inside.
Yeah. My daughter, when she was 5 or 6, all she wanted to wear was dresses. She called them twirlies. And she wanted to wear shoes that made noise. She called them tappies. So any shoe that
I
made
love it.
noise, she just thought that was amazing. So she wore twirlies and tappies. And just because of my budget, we would go to Goodwill because she could pick out 5 twirly dresses. And I got comments. I remember once waiting with her at the bus stop, and another woman said, "You dress your daughter so well and so distinctly." And I'm there like, I don't dress,
Yes.
I would rather she wear pants are easier, but that's how she is dressed. And also at an after school care, I didn't realize this, but one of the workers there said to me, I she went outside and she got her dress dirty. I mean, I'm sorry about that. And I'm there like, no. If I send her to after school care in a dress, it's not your job to keep her clean. That's my either good or bad decision. It's like she should be able to play,
Yeah. Anna would wear her cute little skipper clothes and her fancy dresses because we had a plethora of them given to us all the time, as she was the only girl.
Wore them out in the
Garbage
field to the sheep.
bags. And so we just let her wear whatever she wanted, but she's surrounded by boys on 16 acres.
Oh,
And
wow.
they were always playing war and stuff. So she'd just put on her fancy little dress, we'd do her hair, and she'd go out and wipe the street with all those boys.
Yeah. And again, you can, yeah, there's nothing that says you can't play war or play in the mud in a dress,
No, I mean, women did it for years. They were out
Exactly.
farming in long dresses. That's why they were so excited when they could wear pants.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they'd struggled with that for years, but
Yeah.
it's totally doable.
I weirdly, I always thought, so I play tennis. I always thought tennis dresses, tennis skirts were stupid, because I wore shorts. And then I realized they're actually more comfortable to play tennis in because you do a lot of side to side movement. And
They
skirts
have
are
more
actually,
flow.
yeah, much more functional playing tennis. So, which I didn't realize. I thought it was just, I don't know, you're supposed to wear a tennis dress and look pretty to do a sport, which...
Well, coming out with my line of women's tuxedos came about, one, because when my oldest son got married, his grandmother-in-law wanted a pantsuit, and she could not find anything she'd wear. And okay, this is grandma, right? And she's sitting here going, every pantsuit looks like it's for an old lady. I am not wearing those. It's like, okay. And then when I got our nibblings, and our nibbling would go to Goodwill and buy suits. And I'm like, well, now that I'm here, why don't you, and they're an artist, why don't you draw me up a suit jacket and we'll make you a jacket? Because I can alter the ones from Goodwill, but making a woman a jacket to fit her is much easier than fitting a man's jacket to the structure of a female skeleton.
Yeah.
And so we made her first jacket, and that's where the idea of a tuxedo started to come into my mind. So this has been going on for like 20 years.
Yeah.
And then the more I talk to women, and you must deal with this in your counseling, is helping people in general, but I know women in particular because that's what I deal with mostly in clothes. Our clothes help us portray that. If I'm a lawyer and I feel good and I feel like I look the part, whatever I think that is, I carry that with me into court. I carry that with me wherever I go.
Yeah.
But up here in Washington, we have a lot of galas for everything. There are huge fundraisers up here where people dress up fancy all the time. And I have had CEOs and military personnel and lawyers who tell me, when I wear that dress, I become the eye candy. People don't treat me the same.
Yeah.
And that's when it solidified into a tuxedo is the most formal suit we can have.
Yes.
In all our brains, it requires us to say, that's a person of power.
Yeah. That is definitely, again, not only helps us present ourselves in a certain way, but the world sees us that way.
Yeah.
Which then is, there's kind of that dilemma then, is do I give in and say I'm going to dress this way because the world responds that way? Or do I kind of break the mold and dress the way I want and try to change people's perception? And I think there's probably a time for each of those.
Yeah, and it works both ways with the women's tuxedo in actuality, because we are breaking the mold, because women are expected to wear a fancy dress. Oh, and worse yet, we're expected to wear a different fancy dress.
All the time, right.
We can't wear the same one.
I feel bad for female newscasters. Everything's online, but because they had to wear something different every day, and a man could just wear the same suit, maybe change the tie.
Yeah. He could have even 5 of the same suit and nobody'd know and nobody'd say a word.
Right.
If we wear 5 of the same dress that all look alike.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it is breaking that mold also. But yeah, and but there are other women. I'm one that I don't know. I guess my parents did well raising me to where I just knew who I was. And when I was able to show myself, I don't have a problem, whatever I'm wearing, if I need to pull out that, excuse me, authority person here.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I've met so many women that don't have that.
Yeah.
They're still stuck in that box of what the world expects us to act like in this situation or that situation.
And it probably depends some on the industry that they're in, or
military is a big one. They either have to wear their military dress uniform or a ball gown.
Yeah, which is, they're so diametrically
so different.
Yeah.
And a lot of women would really rather have something a little more chic than their military uniform.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, like an admiral in a ball gown.
Yeah, that doesn't scream admiral, does it?
Yeah, and people then feel like they can treat them with, and this is what I've been told, that they can treat them with less authority while they're in that ball gown. It's like, once you take the uniform off, you're just a civvy and we can treat you however.
And a
it's
female,
like, no.
which is even, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's interesting how much what we wear, it can affect not only how we feel, and how we feel does affect how we present ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah. There's an O. Henry story where, like in the 1920s probably, where this um, teenager thought she wasn't pretty, and basically throughout the story she did things to her clothes. I remember one was like she put newspapers under her skirt to feel like crinoline, and it just changed the way she presented herself. And then she had all these this attention, which is what she was craving, that because she carried herself as if she was beautiful.
Yeah. And that's what I like to help people do, men and women.
Yeah.
And children especially, because if we can do it young, they can
Yeah.
grow up.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I think, like you were talking about Anna wanting to wear 17 different colors, there's definitely that age where it's I'll wear what I want to wear. And it's, I just, well, it was like that when my daughter wanted to wear dresses. If she wanted to wear stripes and polka dots, I would have been fine with that too. It just happened to be that she wanted to wear what was seen as socially not even really appropriate, because she outdressed everybody.
But that's more acceptable,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
to other people.
Yeah.
And that's why many moms I knew, which I always thought, wow, that'd be so hard to try and force my daughter into matching socks and a shirt.
Yes.
Everything had to match. So lucky for her, I wasn't like that.
Yeah. I saw a picture once. I can't remember what celebrity it was, but I went, oh, that's so sweet. It was a famous celebrity with their kids, and they were dressed like they had dressed themselves, and they're like,
Wow.
good for you, and paparazzi's out there taking pictures of these, kids and, mismatched socks and whatever. And they're like, good for you. You care about your children more than you care about what the world thinks about you.
Well, it's like we've never worried about haircuts.
Mm-hmm.
And our oldest son was 7, and he wanted Armor Hammer pants because they worked really good for soccer, because you could catch the ball in that low scoop of the pants.
Okay.
And he liked to be goalie. But he also wore his hair in a mullet. And so, and the back of it was long enough to be down to his waist if you uncurled his ringlets.
Wow.
And my father-in-law, the colonel, had a total fit. And it's like, he'll be fine.
Yeah.
He's now 40, and there's no way he would ever wear his hair like that again.
Yeah, there's those expectations. And again, it's that balance of, I think we do have to conform sometimes. Like you go on a job interview, you do dress a little nicer, or you're, a teacher, you do want to dress a certain way. So people very quickly recognize, oh, this is your role. But then you can still do that in an authentic way. You can change it a little bit, or certainly if you're not in that real strict rule, like in the military, you kind of have to wear your uniform to really use clothes to accentuate who you are, to make that statement to the world and to yourself. This is who I am.
Yes,
Jerry,
Anna.
this reminds me of that story you told me about the lawyer. She was working to be a lawyer, and she had to dress a certain way that she despised.
Yes.
Because it personified everything she was against and why she was becoming a lawyer in the first place.
Yeah.
And how she found her workaround that helped her remain true to herself, but still conform where she had to in order to pass the bar.
Flannel boxer shorts underneath her lawyer suit.
I love it.
Yes. And again, nobody could see that, but it helped remind her, this is who I am. The world needs to see me this certain way in this certain environment, but I don't want to become that person.
Right.
I want to stay true to my grassroots environmentalist, self. So I thought that was a brilliant
it's
solution.
an excellent way. And that's a lot of times why women really like lingerie.
Oh, yeah.
Because it makes them feel good. Nobody knows but them if they're forced into wearing an outfit that doesn't show that side of them, and they
I
feel
like
a
that.
lot more feminine.
Yeah. I had another client who felt like she was being shoved into a box at work. Like you were saying, being forced to wear something that didn't even fit with what you were doing.
Yeah.
And she would wear crazy socks under
I
her,
love it.
and again, just to remind herself, I have to do this in this specific part of my life, but I'm not gonna become who they want me to become. I'm still me
Yeah.
underneath this. Yeah.
And that's what some of the guys in the Big and Tall store, because we see a lot more women in the last 15 years will show their tattoos.
Oh, uh-huh.
But guys have wore them for a lot more years. But like in the Big and Tall store, they couldn't show their tattoos.
Oh.
So if they had tattoos that came up into the neck, they had to wear their collar up
Uh-huh.
and stuff. And they're like, yeah, but I know it's underneath there.
Yes.
I know that rebellious part of me is there.
Yeah. And there's two reasons, well, there might be more for tattoos. And just one is to present to the world some message, but the other one is very personal, because I know people who have tattoos that only the most intimate partners can see, but it means something to them.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's those two different messages, and it's a balance. It's just such a tricky balance.
It is, because it's like white males come into the big men's store and they want a shade of blue, black, or gray.
Uh-huh.
And they want it in their shirt. They want it just about everything they wear. So as a consultant at the store, it was our job to convince them, how about these delightful Ralph Lauren socks? They're
Uh-huh.
multicolored. Nobody's really going to see them.
Mhm.
Or would you consider a lavender shirt? You won't wear pink, but
Mhm. Yeah.
or just getting them to try something else, because a lot of times when they try that, or a tie,
Uh-huh.
add a little color to it, they start to feel a lot more of who they are.
Mhm.
Then we have our persons of color from many of the other countries in the world who all love color.
Mhm.
Africa, India, the Philippines. And yeah, they come in the store and they're like, where's all your color?
Yeah.
Why is everything blue, black, and gray?
Uh-huh. Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I want to ask you, um, so things shifted as I was growing up. As I was growing up, there were like your skirt length was a particular length. I mean, that was it. And then it definitely shifted where now pretty much any length of skirt, pants, they're just all over the place, and you're not dated if you wear a different length.
Right.
So did did you, I assume, saw that happen too. What do you think that was about? What do you think shifted there?
A lot of the shift came in the 60s with the hippie movement.
Uh-huh.
And then as we move forward, and things that were taboo became less taboo, like tattoos
Uh-huh.
in general. Those things broke down these clothing barriers. We also didn't have wars or anything that generated how much fabric we could or couldn't put into a skirt.
Oh, gotcha.
So there were those kind of things. We also see fashion. We've seen huge fashion changes. I mean, 2 years ago when you watched the red carpet runway, almost being naked was a common thing.
Uh-huh.
That was a huge change.
Uh-huh.
And seeing the change from looking at parents in our churches and our synagogues and our schools for fashion and what's right,
Uh-huh.
we started looking at celebrities. That was also another huge change,
Ah, yes.
because celebrities were trying to break out of molds. So I think it was just a lot of mold breaking that all started back in the 60s with the hippie movement.
Yeah, that makes sense. But also when you say that, like, everyone, like on the red carpet, tries to look unique, but they end up
Yeah.
all looking the same. It's like
Yeah.
you can't really get unique because these fads do come and go.
And we're seeing that in sales all the time. One person comes up with something finally unique and everybody gets on the unique bandwagon, whether it's in clothing or books, or because I've noticed it in books where I've read this book. Oh yeah, that was by a different author, but it's the same book.
But here, Ruth, too, I remember pre-internet that also happened. Before it was really so available, it seemed like those books and clothing and styles still had that, what do they call it when it blows up on the internet? Viral. Yeah. Are you going to mention Bellwether, Anna?
Yeah.
Yes, I am, because I know all three of us know that book.
Yeah.
I love that book. It's awesome. Yeah, it just seemed to flow less quickly before the internet, where we could see everything so fast and so much. It's also, in my opinion, a money thing. That person made money on it. So if I do exactly what they do, I can make money by doing exactly what they do.
Yeah, I used to like the magazines where it showed a celebrity wearing a certain look, and then it showed like how you could recreate the look, but in an affordable way.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, because we know the book and probably no one listening knows what we're talking about, do you want to explain Bellwether, Anna?
So, this is a favorite book of all three of us. It's Bellwether by Connie Willis, and the entire premise of the book is it is science fiction because the main characters are scientists, and the female protagonist, she's her area of research is trying to discover how fads become fads. What is the point where something turns into a viral phenomenon?
Pet rocks,
Pet rocks, chopping off your hair in the 20s, wearing pants, and anything and everything. And the whole point of the book is a dissection of sociology, basically. Just why do humans do what they do? It's very silly that we just picked one day that to everybody have a pet rock.
Yeah.
And she ends up connected with this guy who's studying sheep, because
chaos
Bellwether
theory
comes from sheep.
Herds of sheep. Where the leader isn't in the front necessarily, but there's a leader where everybody does tend to follow.
Do whatever they do.
Yeah. And it's kind of
called the Bellwether.
Yeah. It's hard to identify that because they're not necessarily in the front.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic book. It's hilarious and informative.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to look at the world, especially if you work in customer service or marketing. It's really hard to look at the world and not relate everything to that book after the fact. Oops, I think I just muted myself on accident. But you're looking at everything as this setup of, wait, now everybody's doing this just because someone else did it, but who did it first?
Everybody's doing zombies, and now it's vampires, and now it's angels, and now it's true crime.
And now it's zombie vampires.
Yes!
So another topic, we're getting a little long here, but I think this is great. Another topic that you guys have both been cycling around in the last little bit here was, and we've talked about previously, both all of us individually, is you were talking about the public perception from what you wear, how you deport yourself, what you choose to do on all levels. And I know Jerry and I have had conversations, and Mom, Ruth, and I have talked about this too, about people making assumptions about you based off of how you behave or what you wear. And sometimes they're good and sometimes they're bad. It's not even like a bad thing. I'm trying to remember where I was going with this, but we've talked before about how funny it is, like with people assuming that because your daughter wore the dresses, the tippy tappies and the twirlies, that oh well, public deportment must be very important to you, and you present your child so properly.
Yes.
And it's just a funny thing that people make assumptions about, and I just find it very interesting, especially where we're all in the industry, if you want to call it an industry. We are all in the vocation of helping people just be true to who they are and be honest with themselves, and in so doing, being honest with the world and how people are still going to take you how they're going to take you.
Yeah. And how that does change over time. I do think
Yeah.
that does change as uh, women. There may come a time where a woman wearing a ball gown is treated with deference and respect,
Yeah.
or uh, a professional wearing jeans and a sweatshirt, or is perceived as knowledgeable. I do remember in high school, there was one teacher who wore jeans. Yeah, I know it was a new thing, but he was so structured, intelligent, knowledgeable that um, that kind of overrode his very, very casual way of dressing at that time. Uh, and he didn't need that. He didn't need that uniform of the pink sweater and the tan slacks, which
Yeah.
would look funny on him. Um, but yes, there's definitely that first initial um, uh, impression that other people have of you, and that I think can serve you well when going into a new situation. It's just like a shorthand,
Yeah.
this is who I am. And then you kind of adjust it as you get to know people. But it
I
is a real quick way to let other people know what your role is.
I know that my youngest son became an auto tech, and he went in for his first job after auto tech school, and the guy hired him on the spot.
Mm,
And he hired him on the spot because all the other guys were taking the advice, come in dressed for the job.
mm-hmm,
He came in his dress shirt and his slacks and his shine shoes
mm-hmm.
because he's meeting the boss.
Yeah.
And he got the job because he said, you cared enough to present yourself in this certain manner. And that's how we used to be told. It's
Yeah.
pretty new when people are saying, oh, if you're going to be a ditch digger, come in your ditch digger clothes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and it just for that person who was interviewing him said that he would do a good job.
Yeah, I do think that's thinking of the other person. That's a way of showing respect to the other person, that I took time to think about what you would like to see or what message this would give to you. And I think that's true in a lot of situations. I'm thinking about, again, funerals. I have nothing against tank tops, but wearing a tank top to a funeral says something about potentially, may say something about respect, or, you just
Yeah.
kind of take a little extra time because something's important, you know. We all took a breath.
I know, at the same time. Yeah.
I was just going to say, there are some religious holidays, and it was in my family. My mom said she had us dress nicely and she cleaned the house, even though no one was coming over, because that was kind of a ritual of, this is an important day. Which I always thought was a great way to look at it. I took the time to do this, not to show anybody else, but to kind of just say, this is important enough to take
To do
some
that.
time. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. My mom would always set the table. People always said we had such high class manners.
Uh-huh.
But and we did, because her great grandparents were wealthy people way over in Europe a couple
Uh-huh.
centuries back. But so she had grown up where for dinner you always set the table and you always put all the silverware on it,
Mm-hmm.
and you have the two glasses, and
Mm-hmm.
so we grew up that way, and it was because it's important. My
Yes.
family's important enough to actually set the table and for us to all sit here together.
That is so interesting, because I had a client, a mom, a single mom, very, very busy, often had dinners where, hot pockets or peanut butter and jelly, or whatever she could throw together. And she was concerned about her kids not feeling structured, or that mealtime was important. So she started doing that, and literally set the table and cut a hot pocket in half and set it on the plate. But at a set table, it just showed that dinner was important and dinner time was important, even though she didn't have time to prepare much more than a Hot Pocket or a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, that created that sense of family and that sense of caring.
And my husband's family wasn't like that. So when we got together, we went more towards my family.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And he, even now, sometimes, because his family would always sit wherever and eat, and sometimes we do that now that the kids are gone.
Yeah.
But a lot of times he'll even start it by setting the table.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, clothes just represent a lot of things, or are messages about a lot of things. And I think the thing both of us are saying is you start with the core. You start with who
Mhm.
you are inside. And whether that's a mental health thing, how you present yourself, ADHD, or different things in the mental health area, to say, this is who I am, and how can I match that to what I need from the world, rather than starting from the outside. This is what the world expects, and then the part of you that is authentically you gets buried so deep. So
Yeah.
again, even if it's just wearing flannel boxer shorts
Which
under
is
that
awesome.
suit, it's
That's an
important
awesome story.
to not lose. I know, I love that one. Yeah, to not lose who you are. Yeah.
Yeah, because I know a lot of men that I've met over the 8 years in the Big and Tall Men's Store that would wear fancy socks because
Yeah.
nobody could see them, but
Yeah.
that was their flannel boxer shorts.
Yes. Yes. That was their little, you can't tell me how to, yeah.
Yeah,
And it's not just that, it is a reminder that I'm an individual.
yeah,
I know I have to do this for my job, or for whatever reason, or because of how people interpret who I am, but I'm always basically who I
me.
am in my heart and soul.
We are going to hopefully have a interview on So Much Talk with a friend of mine named Keith.
Uh-huh.
And Keith is ex-military, special forces,
Huh?
secret
Uh-huh.
duck things.
Uh-huh.
And yet I've seen Keith wear a kilt
Ah,
and
uh-huh.
his dress shirt. And this is Keith. But then Keith won an award at our internet meeting. And it came with a cowboy hat and a fur jacket and big bling. And Keith went and got cowboy boots and blue jeans to go with that. And he totally rocked it.
Nice.
This is a different side of Keith, but it's still the
Yes.
same Keith we'd see in the kilt and the dress
Yeah.
shirt,
Yeah.
or the Hawaiian shirt and jeans,
Oh, and I
which
like
he would
that.
also wear.
Yeah, I like that too, because as an exploration, or even as a stepping outside yourself, because I am not a fancy person, but I do love, when I go to, the theater. And a lot of times at the theater, even at nice shows, people wear jeans and sweaters, and
Mhm.
I do dress up, and it's fun and it's nice, and I can't walk far because I'm wearing heels, but it's just like a fun way to just be that person for just that long. I don't want to be that person
Yeah.
all the time.
And it's a piece of you that's really
Mhm.
you.
Mhm.
But and part of what I like when we go do something like that is to dress up, is because then I can be that fancy me that I don't get to be very
Uh-huh.
often.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then sometimes I want to wear my sweatsuit and my tank top and go barefoot and
Yeah.
have nobody recognize me.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, that's all, because there's not just, well, I guess there is one authentic self, but it has many parts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do definitely have that very fancy, look at me. I have these shoes I call my mermaid shoes because they're green
Ooh.
and sparkly, um, I am a mermaid shoe woman,
Yeah.
but I'm also like a flip-flop woman, you know, depending
Yeah.
on how I feel that
Having
day.
hurt my feet and ankles too, now I have my fancy flat shoes.
Ah, uh-huh.
So I have my sweater dress and my warm leggings and my fancy flat shoes.
Which I think is wonderful. And actually, I know we're running long, but I think it's wonderful that people can kind of mix and match. There isn't that structured
Yeah.
way that you must dress. And I'm wondering if ties are going to go the same way as pantyhose. Like, when you wear a dress, do you wear pantyhose, Ruth?
Sometimes,
Yeah.
sometimes not.
Not usually anymore. Not
Yeah.
unless it's absolutely a high formal event.
Yeah.
It's
But like
mainly if I'm cold.
30 years ago,
You had to.
you
It
would
was
not.
required.
Yeah. And why?
Yeah.
To show
And
everybody that your legs were the same color as your legs. Yeah.
Did
when I
you?
worked at the wedding shop and at the Big and Tall Men's store, and so that was just before COVID, because I worked there till COVID. We had, if we wore a dress, we had to wear pantyhose.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, this is really archaic.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
You could always pull a 1940s and just use a Sharpie and draw a line up the
And
back of
draw a
your
line up
legs.
the
So, you know,
seam.
it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
Just fake it.
Yeah. Yeah. My mom she talked like how she would do that, like they would draw the seams on each other's, but pantyhose don't have seams anymore. So
That is true. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just this weird, I'm sure it had a purpose at some point, probably warmth at some point, but, I think it's a good thing that it's now a choice rather than a requirement. Yeah.
And that we don't have to wear high heels when we wear a dress. That's very nice, because I have foot and ankle injuries that make that not a good thing.
They say that clothing fashions tend to follow whatever makes people seem wealthy. So high heels means I don't have to work in the field, because you certainly can't work in the field in these high heels. So anything that says I don't have to do,
Any
that's
labor?
where some of the changes in men's clothing in particular we saw. Cuffed pants. That was a rebellion against richness.
Oh,
It came with some of it came with gangs. The zoot suits, the Hispanic gangs down in California, but you also had an equivalent to a zoot suit from the Eastern gangsters in the mafia, and they all had cuffs, and they had the longer jackets, which you didn't have. The suspenders that you saw, those were all male rebellion against, I can still look good even if I'm not rich.
Yeah, this is the way for me to do it. Yeah.
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 Well,
go ahead,
this
Anna.
This was a fantastic conversation. I'm loving it. I'm just sitting here Googling over both of you.
Yeah.
I always love to talk to Jerry.
I love to talk to you. It's been a little while.
And
Anna probably had a list of points in case we got stuck in conversation, but
no, she figured we both talk so much.
I wasn't expecting you to be. I did have some prepared just in case, but no, you guys ended up hitting them anyway. So
yeah.
We're gonna make sure we have the contact or the follow information on the video for both of you. Thank you so much for sitting down and doing this with me, because it made my heart happy.
Terrific.
It was wonderful. Yeah.
And it just makes me so happy to share people who all believe in making the world a better place and helping people be true to themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is Ruthie of Ruthie Ks Inc. and Geraldine of Up&Up Wellness, and we will catch you all later.
Bye.
Welcome to Mental Health, the Up&Up. We're trying to make mental health care clear, helpful, and maybe even fun. We're chatting with licensed therapists, but this is not therapy. These are simply thoughts and ideas for you to discuss with your own therapist and to help you on your journey of complete wellness.